Hey Deckers, I know we've covered Diablo 4 quite a lot, but there's been a ton of questions about what if you play on power or in dock mode. So I'm going to cover the best settings to play Diablo 4 on the Steam Deck when you are connected to power all of the time, or if you just don't care about the battery life. As you can see here, it's looking absolutely phenomenal, and we will bounce between 40 and 60 frames per second depending on where we're at. And just for clarity, I do have the high-res assets installed, as this massively improves stutter, as well as the cryo utilities changes and the 4GB UMA buffer. If you need any help with getting any of that set up, check out the links in the description below. Okay, let's dive into the settings then that I'm running here. I do have the AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2 set to quality with a sharpening of around 20, foreground FPS at 60 with the Steam Deck at 60 as well. Set the quality preset to high. Then we want to tweak a couple of settings here. First of all, change the clutter quality to medium. This will make a massive improvement in dungeons especially. And we also want to turn screen space reflections off and distortion off. This will help our higher end usage, but it still will not help us in town. Unfortunately, in towns is still a bit of a problem no matter what settings you're running. And at nighttime, it is a bit more of a draw because of all of the lighting effects as well. But we will bounce between 40 and 60 frames per second, depending on where we're at. And even inside in towns on taverns, there seems to be some weird 45 frames per second cap in some of the cutscenes, but it still looks absolutely phenomenal. I started off showing a bit of daytime play. You saw that it bounced between 40 and 60. Here you can see in the outside world is the same, but when we go into some of those instance dungeons, we do hold higher to the 50 and 60 frames per second, but the effects are just absolutely phenomenal. As I said, once we go into some of these levels, because we've reduced that clutter quality, and because there's not as much rendering in the long term, it does look absolutely phenomenal. Now it does dip down, as you see, into the high 30s, when all hell breaks loose, but I am running one of the most graphically intense characters and builds here, as I have a full minion build on the Necromancer. I'm sure that if you're running a Druid or the Barbarian, for example, with a lot less effects, then it's going to be a much better experience as well. But if this is how good it looks and performs running the Necromancer, then you're not going to have any problems on other classes. I'm also quite far through the game. You can see I'm around level 44. And I'm in the second area here, so things are going to perform a little bit worse than a lot of people are seeing, because that first area is a little bit more optimized than some of the other areas, but it still runs absolutely awesome. If you're still with us, I've got a nice little tip for you. If you haven't figured out what those murmuring orbs are for, then come to Kybershad and find this lady down in the alley. This is where you can spend your murmuring orbs for a chance of some legendary gear. Now, legendary gear only uncaps at 35, and there is a 500 limit to the amount of murmuring orbs that you can hold in the early stages, so feel free to come and roll your gear here if you have anything that's underpowered. It's quite cheap, it is a chance, but if you are after a specific gear, around 200 orbs pretty much has got me a piece of legendary each time, and if it's not the legendary you hope for, at least you can go and extract the bonus to put it on some gear that you do want it for. As you can see, though, running around in Kybershad, it still holds around 40 frames per second with these settings. You can admire the armor of all the other people in all of its glory as they're running around. I'll leave you with a bit more of the daytime gameplay here of the Necromancer causing absolute havoc to get a better feel for the gameplay and performance without me talking. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to be running these settings or if you tweak them a little bit more for your class. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.